All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's early show for Who's Gaming Now? Who's developing now, actually, because we have ourselves an awesome developer on here. We have Bean. We have one Mr. Bean. You can follow him all sorts of places. See his happy smiling face in the upper left corner. Hello, and welcome. This is the creator of, among other things, Choice Chamber. So, why don't you give people a little bit of an introduction, who you are, what you work on, what's up with the fuzzy thing, and
This is my dog.
Yeah.
He wanted to say hi. Oh, he doesn't really want to say hi anymore.
It's like, oh wait, there's a camera involved? I didn't know there would be cameras involved.
This is Kai, short for Kaleidoscope.
Nice. I've never met a dog named Kaleidoscope before.
Yeah, so introduction for me. Oh, okay, he's down. I've been making games for 15 years. Worked AAA for a few years at Namco. Went independent for 2.5 years now, and Choice Chamber is my third commercial game, but I have dozens of games, and most of those are free little flash games that slowly and surely change the world in their little ways.
Yeah, you've got some awesome stuff. Like, just to indicate, you weren't showing off Choice Chamber there, were you?
I was showing it at the Firehouse all weekend.
Oh, the Firehouse. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
It
You
was
were.
gonna
It had
be,
the laptop
finalist.
set up. I remember that. So they've given us the hammer. If the frames look a little choppy, I'm thinking Minicam might be part of the culprit, and Skype running video might be another part of it. So don't worry too much if it looks a little choppy on your end, folks. It normally isn't when it's being played. So I guess, like, what's kind of your main influence for the game? What was the thing that really made you like, I want to make a platformer where people choose what the people are doing?
I guess my biggest inspiration was how poorly my previous game gets played on Twitch. That game being Sound Dodger. And it doesn't work well on Twitch because it's a music game that requires you to pay attention to the game for the duration of the entire song.
Yeah.
And on Twitch, people, of course, like to read the chat and talk to their community and stuff like that. And so either someone would play the game terribly because they're reading the chat, or they would ignore their chat. So either way, it's kind of a win-lose. And really, it's easy to get around that. All you have to do is make a game where it's not tied to, or doesn't have timing involved. So
Yeah.
like any action game, basically, you can just stop playing, read the chat, and then go back into the game. But I guess I wanted to keep going further. I was like, let's get a game where everyone on Twitch can actually play together just by watching the game, like, and they could, I don't know, click on a screen, or everyone has an app open and they're all kind of doing something. I was like, that's all too complicated. Let's just have them talk through the chat room and have the game somehow, I don't know how, but read the chat room and influence the game, whatever the game is. We actually had my dog Kai in his agility class at the time, and that's when the idea hit me. December of last year, coming up on 1 year when the idea first came about. And I was like, what kind of game can you have lots of different people give their input on where it makes sense to, like, have that much input coming in? I was like, well, how about a game where there's just lots of variables going on, like something that is procedural? And I guess roguelike platformer is really big, and I'm into them. I never made one before.
I gotcha.
So I was like, let's just do that, see how that works. And lo and behold, Choice Chamber was born. So yeah, I just threw a prototype together in January, started streaming it for a bit, and it was pretty obvious it was going to be something pretty spectacular. And then Twitch Plays Pokemon came out afterwards.
Yeah, I was actually about to say Twitch Plays Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that I don't know if they were aware of Choice Chamber at the moment, but kind of capturing the similar sort of thing. Basically, a bot that aggregates all of everybody's input and puts it out in the form of gameplay one way or another. But,
yeah, I don't know, and there's possibly no way to find out
Yeah.
because the person who made it wishes to remain anonymous. So all we know is that a guy from Australia is all that's public, and then neither of those pieces of information could be true anyway. So,
You know,
that's all we
I've
have.
been trying to get a buddy of mine to make Twitch Plays Rogue. Because I think original
Rogue?
Yeah. I think that would be an awesome game for it because everything can be played with keyboard inputs. In fact,
Yeah, I mean, I think most games have been tried by now to give you an idea of how it's going to play for all the Twitch Plays games. Rogue, at least Rogue is turn-based, and you can kind of slow it down,
yeah.
and each input gets to be one thing.
Yeah.
You could also like display the game in the chat via ASCII art, and so you can like see the state of the game between turns without even needing a video feed.
That would be pretty gnarly. It would definitely require you to kind of expand your chat window or some sort of special system. But yeah, that would be.
Well,
That'd
you
be
just
pretty
bring
interesting.
everyone to a certain site, and it formats the chat appropriately. Wouldn't have to worry about it.
Gotcha.
Just like embed the chat without the video. It's just
Yeah.
a chat-only game.
Be like a text-based adventure that everybody's playing.
Yeah,
Zork MMO.
absolutely. 2014 Mud.
Yep. I'm sure there's still people playing MUDs.
I'm sure every group of dedicated fans never really leave.
That's true. That is true.
There's
So
still people playing Pac-Man religiously.
yeah, but that's more of something that people actually grind for speed running and duration records and stuff. So it's kind of an interesting thing there. So we've got fire going now, everybody. That damage over time actually works pretty well with the hammer. All right, come on, folks, give me an extra heart slot here.
Yeah, let's go for slot. That sounds pretty good.
That's usually what I like.
Although
to
we can get a tie, right?
get. Yeah.
Tie slot and lucky. No, not now. They're
So
all-
that was
they're all
actually a
playing
question
slot.
that we had recently. How do ties resolve? We had something where one person voted one way, one person voted the other way, and it went to the one who voted first. Is it always tie goes to the first, or is tie goes to the random sort of thing?
It always, in the event of a tie and you can't afford everything in the tie, it always tries to purchase the most expensive thing first.
Okay. I can't remember if it was actually the context of a shop. I think it was something else, that it was like bigger rooms versus smaller rooms, and one voted one voted the other, and it was the one that
Oh,
was...
for that it's random.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
it'll actually say it in above the treasure chest. It'll say picked randomly.
Speaking of picking things, we just saw like 3 or 4 choices go by. Does that normally happen around room 10, that everything just kind of changes?
Oh, like you mean like having so many active at one time?
Yeah, like we just had...
Yeah, it kind of happens around room 10. That's just a balancing thing.
Okay.
There's certain questions that need to be asked first, and then certain questions have a repeat rate, like how often I mean, you've played enough, you know that some questions get repeated every so often.
Yeah.
And so room 10 has a few original questions, and then there's questions from earlier that have their repeats coming in, so they all kind of just line up and happen right at room 10.
I gotcha. That's cool. So I've got actually quite a bit of questions here. So the first thing I was wondering is what more you're going to add for things that players can vote for, or that the viewers can vote for the player. Like right now we've got like the more jumps, the elements, the pick the weapon at the beginning. Are we going to see more like accessory items, or like being able to add a shield or whatever, that when you're not attacking you've got a shield up in front kind of blocking things, or instead of it just being fire, ice, and lightning, being able to have more choices in the mix but only presenting 3 at a time, like you've got a shadow sort of thing that blinds them for a moment and they just kind of pause and start looking around after you hit them, or you know, some sort of virus. It does very, very slow damage over time, but it will spread to other creatures near it, stuff like that. Or also different types of jumps, like a levitate jump that you hold the button, and instead of it being, you know, a fast in slow out sort of thing, it's just you hold the button and you raise at a specific speed until you reach your jump height, and then it just kind of drops you as normal. That's the sort of stuff that I'd love to see variation with, and I was wondering if that's the sort of thing that there's plans for that, or if things are kind of feature locked for where it's at right now.
Yeah, the fun part about this game is that you can just do anything. There's no limit to like what would make sense in the game and what wouldn't make sense. Like even ridiculous things are okay in something like this, where you know that the audience has the ability to make the game crazy or super easy or super hard or whatever's going on.
Yeah.
And so you got to draw the line somewhere, because without any limit to your creativity, you're just going to be like, well, I don't know, I guess let's just do everything. And then it becomes this kind of this game that never gets finished.
Right.
And so we did a lot of popular choice votes, and that's mostly what the game is right now. But those are not what we feel the game is really about. It's cool, it works. It's quick, it's fast, it turns a chat size of any amount of people in it into kind of one voice, which is what we don't like about it. And so, yeah, there's going to be more things to vote on. I mean, more weapons, more types of enemies, and room hazards. Yes to defensive things, similar to the idea of a shield and things like that. Just ways to kind of quickly change the dynamic of what you have to do, like how the icy floors change things a lot now that you're scrambling left and right with your hammer. And the spike floors, of course, change things very quickly, especially if you have Pogo.
Yeah, Pogo with Spike is basically good game. Now, folks,
but we want to get away from the idea of voting on something with a popular vote, at least. We want ways to individualize people in the chat and give certain people a chance. And, cycling, so every round someone else gets to do something different, but just kind of spotlight people and make them feel like they're actually important, and they're not just giving one drop of a vote into an ocean of opinion, so to speak. And so, like expanding the boss battles to have them be unique inputs from the chat, so the chat can help fight alongside or actually be the boss or whatever it may be. And the bridge room is kind of a step in that direction. Like the bridge, you can tell, is a different room than the rest because it's a real-time type thing that's happening, and the chat is in direct control of how possible, let alone easy or hard, it is to get across the room.
Yeah, for sure. So that was something that the viewers had asked about in one of the previous episodes. Would the spikes potentially be able to affect creatures in the future, or is it designed that it's just a hazard for players?
Yeah, I didn't put that in yet. It'll affect the enemy, so you can eventually just jump up and down and kill stuff that's on top of it.
Cool. That'll help. Then another thing, kind of on the same subject here, I had kind of come up with a bit of an idea for jump height versus jump mod. So jump height would be your double jump, your high jump, or maybe some other, like a blink jump or something, versus jump mod would be if you've got Pogo on, or some other feature or whatever, like maybe you can only jump forward, you can't just jump straight up, something like that. So that way you've got one that enhances your ability to do whatever you need to do, and then you've got one where the players can kind of screw, or the viewers can kind of screw with you and be like, okay, which one how do we want to limit them now? Because that way
the hover would be along with Pogo, like a modification, so you can hover short or hover high if you have the high jump, for example.
Alright, so we've got a bridge room here, and they just took the high jump and gave me Pogo. Like, they're really good at that. my viewers love to. At least there's no heart container we'll potentially be missing.
Did you ever get the ones below ground level?
No, I didn't even know there were some. There's probably one
the bridge
here.
room. It's like I think it's a 10% chance that if there is a flying loot in the room, it'll be underground, like a few pixels below where the door is. And so you need the double jump to get it, or player 2, of course, if you have local co-op going. But yeah, so I've seen that come up, and it's fun to watch people go for it, because you have to build the bridge a certain way so you can actually get back up to the bridge when you dip down underneath.
Yeah. Well, fire rooms do have their advantage. Okay, vote time resolution. So heart types, that's something that we've been wondering about. We've seen like the lucky heart, and that seems to increase the drop rate of things. The diamond heart, which absorbs a hit. The golden heart, which I'm guessing makes coins drop more frequently. The spiky heart, which it seems like it almost acts as if you take damage when you use it, and if you've got only spiky hearts in your health bar, it instantly kills you. So, whoops.
I hope not.
Yeah, no, that happened to me. I had gotten my...
If you had one heart left and you touch a spiky heart, that'll kill you. That'll get you a game over.
No, for me, it lined me up. It was 3 spiky hearts, and then I just died. It just auto-killed me for collecting a 3rd spiky heart.
Oh, how many heart slots did you have? Was it
3.
full, like 3?
Yeah.
You had 3 spiky hearts, you touched the 3rd one.
I had 2 spiky hearts and another, and then I touched the 3rd one, or maybe I had an empty spot and 2 spikies. But
Okay.
however it happened, I'm pretty sure I've got it recorded somewhere.
Yeah, if you could show me that, it'll make more sense to me, because the spiky heart, it takes a heart away, and then you get the spiky heart. And
that's what I thought.
yeah, that's how it works when you collect one. So if you have one heart only, and you touch a spiky heart, you should get a game over. But if you have a bunch of hearts and you touch the spiky, you should be fine, no matter what the layout is. So that's kind of weird. But yeah, the spike heart prevents you from taking damage when teeth from Toothy explode and hit you, or if you land on a spike floor, or if you touch another spike heart.
Oh.
If you already have one in your inventory. And when you take that spike hit that doesn't hurt you, that spike heart in your inventory becomes a regular heart, so you only get 1 use out of it.
Okay.
The same with the burning heart that turns into a regular once you use the burning heart.
Huh. Oh yeah, I think I saw that with the burning heart. So, did I miss any of them, or is that all the heart types that are in the game right now?
That's my dog. I might him.
Yep.
Actually, the second dog. Other heart types. Lucky also gives you more critical hit percentage.
Oh, nice.
And they also stack, so the more luckies you have, the more often you'll get critical hits and loot dropping.
Very cool.
Same thing goes for golden, which I think I'm going to change to just a coin heart, so it makes more sense, because golden will also drop silver coins as well as gold coins. So I'll just call it a coin heart, so it makes more sense.
That makes sense, yeah.
But those stack as well, so the more of those you have, the more often money's going to drop from enemies. I think you covered most of them. Burning heart, when you are killed by an enemy, every enemy on the screen gets set on fire.
Oh, they all get set on fire. That's nice.
Yeah, and that's permanently. It's not just like a fire mod on the weapon where it lasts for about 3 seconds. They'll just keep burning forever until they die.
Oh, cool. Does that work on bosses?
Not yet. That would be interesting though. You like sacrifice 1 life just so you don't have to worry about the boss anymore.
You kind of have to
bosses
prepare.
Kind of have yeah, the bosses have maybe magic immunity, which is kind of a cheap shot, but I want you to actually fight them and not rely on side tricks like that.
Right.
The totem also can't be affected by fire or ice right now, and that's just something I haven't gotten around to putting in yet. That's a weird looking ice cube he would be inside.
Yeah, some of the things you're talking about, I don't think I've actually seen yet. We've only gotten to floor 27, so the spiky dudes we've seen, but we haven't seen a boss. But the totemy things you're talking about, those really tall things that shoot fireballs?
Yeah.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Totems.
Those would be pretty weird.
So the boss appears at your 25th room right now, in the version you're playing. So if you warp 10 rooms, that means it'll be at 35. If you warp
yeah.
20 rooms, it'll be at 45.
So it's the warps that we're always not seeing them.
Yeah. Once we lock things down, like the game is going to be 100 rooms from start to finish. And every 25 rooms is a boss.
Gotcha.
And the warps are going to be not affecting where the bosses appear.
Okay.
Eventually, once we get all that locked in. So they'll always be 25, 50, 75, 100. And then once you beat the game, if you can, the game goes into a new game plus mode where you can keep going for a high score, and like things get a little bit more challenging than usual on your second route through.
That's a good question. What happens when you hit 100 right now?
The game goes forever.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, back with the old prototype version, people were getting above room 300 and stuff like that.
Nice.
And that would take just hours to do.
Yeah. I would imagine. After about 80, the game lags like crazy, apparently. Weird.
Yeah, there's some optimizations to still do. There's just a lot of the room that exists, and there's lots of enemies in those rooms, and there's just a lot that's going on in the game. So, yeah, there's just optimizations, and you can't really... You should wait till the end to do them. Well, I mean, you do them throughout, but you can't say that they're optimized fully until the end, because you don't know what is going to be in the game.
Right.
So once you add one thing, it might just set your optimization off, and it's no point in saying that you're done with it.
Yeah, no, I understand. And because of the procedural design of it, I can definitely see how it's a lot of systems in place to make sure everything gets assembled and works properly every time.
Yeah, there's lots of combinations of things. Luckily, this game doesn't have too many things that can go together. You can kind of foresee a lot of them coming together, but I've already found a bunch of interesting combinations I didn't really think of, and just through playtesting, like before I tested them fully, I was like, oh, that's what happens when you kind of put those things together. It's kind of interesting. I know that was something with Binding of Isaac, where there's just so many, hundreds of items that all affect the world or the game somehow, that they didn't really test all the combinations of things you can have.
Yeah.
They just released it and then let the community figure them all out. And it's much nicer having thousands of people just tell you what stuff doesn't work together, so you can just quickly fix that instead of like trying to keep track of if you did test them all. So,
yeah. That's I remember like a lot of the things that the original, before even the expansion for Binding of Isaac, were just like so weird. And the first expansion, it helped some of the interactions and it built some new interaction, but there was still a lot of funky stuff. So that kind of seemed like it was the goal for Rebirth, was let's make all of the interactions intentional instead of some of them work in ways that make sense and some of them it's just luck. So this is the one downside of the bow, is it's hard to hit these guys when they're just half a head height below you.
Oh yeah, it just like barely misses them.
Yep, but that's fine. Each weapon has its own perks and disadvantages. The orb is kind of tough, but it's actually pretty fun.
Yeah, that's the one you can kind of throw around with your own velocity. Like if you're jumping or running forward, you can give it an extra distance to it.
Yeah.
So you can kind of just say where you want to send it. Let me see if I can get this guy back up here. What are you doing? Very needy today.
Yeah, my cat just
Kai's
walked
back.
in and jumped up next to me here. Alright, cat, you're going on camera. Interview Fuzzball. Hey, look at the camera. Come on. I don't want to look at the camera. Alright, cat. Let's continue here. Bow is not OP. They're all balanced. They all have their advantages and their disadvantages. Actually, I would say the boomerang is OP. You get 2 hits on things, and you have the ability to wrap it around and hit those totems without them even jumping up. That's pretty big time. Getting the speed mod on that, though, was weird because it increased the throw distance by double, so I couldn't take things out. Like my close range game got really weak, but I was able to take things out from much further away. It's kind of an interesting trade-off, actually.
Yeah, plus if you throw poorly with the boomerang, you have to wait a while
Yeah.
to be able to use it again. Also, every time it hits an enemy, it slows down considerably, so you don't get a full distance if you're going through a whole string of enemies.
Right. Boom Heavy is dead in one throw. Yeah, pretty
He's talking
much.
about juggling on the boomerang. When they get stuck on a boomerang, like as it's coming back, they take all their hits just by like falling on it over and over. I still can't do that on command. It's really tough to really
What
even
the hell
understand
was
what
that?
forces that to happen.
Kitty's got claws. I've never seen that before.
That was a secret move.
Well, how did it happen?
Oh, enough people typed the secret word into the chat room. They only get
Meow?
one per game though. Yeah, it's meow.
Nice.
Meow, you get to do that. We're gonna have a bunch of those, and they're not gonna be all just waiting for you at the beginning. Like right now, they can also type the other one that makes the other thing happen. But yeah, those are just like old things from the prototype I haven't like taken out yet. Eventually, there's gonna be like actually on the screen like a HUD that tells you when the attack is coming or that people are even able to give the attack. And it's kind of like a applause meter, so to speak, where enough people say it in the chat and it just happens.
That fist is awesome.
That's how they currently work now, where
I gotcha.
the number of people who have been responding to all of the polls gives the game a sense of how many people need to contribute to it. Kind of like the Gizmo vote is always, depending on it, it's kind of like that. Oh, there's the other one.
I had a failed
Fist,
Gizmo
yeah.
vote. Yeah. Yeah, that
Failed
fist-
Gizmo vote, those are always sad.
Yeah, only 2 people voted. I don't think
how
they
many did you
understood
need?
what a gizmo was.
How many did you need though?
I don't know. I think I needed like 10.
Uh,
It was that I had a lot of people lurking, but not everyone was actually tuned in.
right. Yeah,
The-
whenever the Gizmo comes up and I catch it out of the corner of my eye, I'll like get really excited and get the chat like kind of wake them up a bit because they need to come together for something like that.
Get the
Same thing
Gizmo.
for the bridge because sometimes they're just kind of sleeping on the bridge and I'm just standing there waiting.
I've had some where I was just kind of sitting there like, I could just type these in chat myself, but I want to let you guys do it and actually play the game.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Oh, there's
put in
a low
thing
one.
Oh, you saw one. There you go.
Yeah. All right.
I was gonna have something in the game where you can't. Do you have double jump?
Yeah, I have double jump, but
Oh, so maybe you
I
can
just
get
need
it.
to get everybody to make it possible.
They have to build a zero.
Everybody's
They
just throwing
do a bunch
everything
of ones
high
and
up.
zeros.
Eventually, latency will catch up, and they'll see me keep resetting the bridges.
Yeah, just ones and zeros will get you there.
Now I can't actually get to it because I can't go sideways. Oh, yeah, I can. Whoops. Oh well, that's fine. I can take a hit. It's just a heart container. I can feel that later. Cool. Alright. Lightning. Neat. So, vote time resolution. Oh, character attributes. Is there anywhere that actually draws or kind of records what your attributes are, what you've got going on the character, and like a way to be able to show it visually just as part of the interface at the top of the screen?
We originally, I had that in, and it got super hectic. Like just the character attributes is cool. I was doing everything. I was showing you every single thing that changed in the game and what people voted on or what's currently active. And so Burnt Toast just throw it in the chat right now. You can see he said CC stats, and if you have your chat bot turned on, it'll spit out all these stats, which is possibly what you're asking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it tells you like your hearts and magic and power, crit, speed, what type of jump you have, how the rooms are laid out, what types of enemies there are, and then that list gets longer based on other things that are happening, like having the gizmos and things like that.
Cool.
So I put in the chat just so you can request it if you're unsure what's going on, because sometimes you can tune into a game and not know. Like I had to ask, do you have double jump? So if people have the chat bot on, you can kind of use that. Because I wanted to keep the screen from getting too cluttered. There's already like the mod chat that's in there, and it's starting to fill up in the left side with the money, your high score, which doesn't need to be there all the time, but the current room and all of your hearts, of course, especially once you get 2 rows of hearts.
I mean, just a very, very quick, like, just a flexing arm with a number next to it, a Maybe
Oh
like
sure,
a
I mean
feather
you
or
can just
something.
do a few things
Yeah,
for
just
ability, like
something
a symbol
super
for the type
tiny.
of jump, and you don't need to
Yeah.
exactly show what type of weapon you have because you can just see yourself holding
Yeah,
it.
that one's not.
Let's
not
say like have a little picture of a magic to let you know if there's a magic mod to go with it. Yeah, I know what you mean. Wouldn't be too bad, I guess, if I had just character attributes. But then people will be curious, like, what's going on with the rooms? Did people vote on this? What's going on with that? And so that whole CC stats thing in the chat just kind of takes care of all of that really quickly.
Gotcha. That works. Yeah, for sure. I mean, even something on a pause menu, so I don't have to alt tab over and type CC stats would be helpful. Because it's.
I like being able to pause and see everything.
Yeah, that's I guess the one major feature that it doesn't need to be there during gameplay, but just some way to really quickly kind of tell, okay, where am I at with everything? I can't remember, hearts and coins and stuff don't disappear, do they?
Nope. Sometimes they fall through the floor, but that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, I just see that when they're kind of on the edge of two platforms.
Yeah.
So what does lightning actually add? Is it a slight knockback?
It does 0.5 damage to anything that is in the bolt, like straight up from where it strikes down. So it attacks the enemy, of course, any enemies near it, and any bats flying above and stuff like that.
Cool.
It doesn't do too much damage, but if you can get a bat caught in it twice, it'll kill the bat without you actually attacking it directly.
That's pretty helpful. Hey, another luck heart. That's gonna be pretty helpful. Alright. So I gotta say, when there's the husky enemies or the smaller enemies, I really don't notice that much of a difference, other than maybe the husky enemies don't fall through the cracks. Is there gonna be potentially more size variation, or is it something that the more it gets voted on, the more their sizes change?
Those are just two different types of enemies that have similar characteristics. I mean, the Huskies can't jump over platform or, jump steps, and they move slower, and they don't fall through the cracks. They have a slower attack time as well, so you can get out of their way. They also drop better loot than the tiny ones.
So the Huskies the type of enemy.
Yeah, Huskies the purple guys.
Oh, I read that as, do you want the size of the enemies to be made larger or smaller, or do you just want a higher distribution of flying things?
Oh yeah, that's just the nickname for them. And then tiny, there's just single words to describe what type of enemy. High means the bats, and stuff like that. We have a whole bunch of enemies that are going to be in the game, and I'm just getting the final concepts together from our character artists so we can start implementing them. Hopefully those will be going in November for the December beta.
Nice.
And including bosses and stuff like that. So basically a big content update as far as things that are challenging in the game, like enemies and bosses, and hopefully some new weapons and stuff like that too. But I'm working on real-time rooms right now, so I don't know if you've seen my stream. Oh, I guess you haven't seen my
No, unfortunately, I haven't been able to.
That's where I test all the new stuff that may or may not make it into the game.
Oh,
and
cool.
Usually the stuff is broken and the game crashes, and it's kind of fun just to watch things happen in real time. But other than the bridge room, I have a thing called the grid room, which is a single screen room filled with a colorful grid, and everyone says a color: red, green, blue, yellow, red. I already said red twice.
Yeah.
4 colors: red, green, blue, yellow. And those colors on the screen either turn on or turn off depending on what state they were just in. So you're kind of creating or destroying parts of the room for you to get across, and there's no floor at the bottom, so you're just trying to get across a very pure thing. And it's very chaotic when there's a lot of people. It's kind of more strategic than the bridge.
I could see that as being one where maybe you would need a little bit of timing, so like you have 15 seconds until the next color switch or something, so at least you can anticipate, oh crap, I need to be here and jumping at this point, so no matter what colors change, at least I'm not going to fall to my doom.
There's a animation between state changes, so you can watch a block before it disappears or watch it before it appears.
Good.
And so there is no limit on how often you can toggle them, but you cannot toggle them while they're in an animation state. That's the only time you can't. So it's kind of like 1 or 2 seconds. So if everyone's just yelling a bunch of colors, the whole room is going to be going on and off. Like slowly. It's a 2-second thing between them, but like they're all just constantly changing.
It's a slow disco.
Yeah, it works. I've gotten across pretty much every time. One time I had Pogo, and the room generated in a way where a bunch of the same color were in the same column, and it was just impossible to jump over it. So I fixed that. So now colors aren't consecutively on top of each other as well as next to each other. But anyway, there's also a falling block room where you fall down a huge pit with a floor at the bottom. You're kind of in this big like a well, I guess. And everyone gives a number from 1 to 5, which is a column that a block will drop from the sky. And the blocks fall down and kind of create your floor to get back up to the exit at the top right. Except the blocks can crush you.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of jump around them and stuff like that.
Of course, the blocks have to be able to crush you. What kind of puzzle would that be otherwise? That's really
well, you
cool.
can also just get marooned down there, I guess, too.
Yeah, that's true. You get blocked in.
So that, I mean, I want to hide like loot inside some blocks, so you have to like break the blocks to kind of get the stuff inside.
Oh, you can break them too.
Maybe just the loot ones. I don't know. Maybe it'd be interesting if there were enemies at the walls, like shooting things sideways or trying to attack you, or maybe enemies in the blocks and you had to break the blocks to get them out and stuff like that. Just something more interesting than just jumping around blocks. And then we have a bunch of other real-time rooms that have not been implemented yet, but they're all super fun, and I like those way more than just voting on stuff because they require the chat to come together, strategize, and all of their input is important because it's a one-to-one thing that's happening, like the bridge room and stuff like that.
Yeah. So here's a question: Have you gotten a lot of requests for numeric damage data? Like when you get hit, well, I guess it doesn't matter when you get hit, but when enemies get hit, a number comes off showing how much damage they actually sustained. For me, that would help communicate some things, like when I have hit something with fire and it's taking the damage over time still, and that enemy is grouped up in a pile, so I can't really see it among the rest of them, or I would have actually known that the lightning bolt hits things above if I saw the like a little 0.5 fly off of the bats or whatever when they get hit with the lightning. So is that something that you would want to do, plan to do, care to do, or is that something that you'd rather leave out because it might potentially promote min-maxer gameplay?
For now, I want it to stay as clean as possible. I felt bad that people didn't know when they were getting critical hits, so I threw the crit thing in. I was like, let's have it at least say crit just for now so they know that something's happening. For the most part, I'm trying to keep it minimal, and you can tell there's not very much going on as far as, despite all the things that have changed throughout a single session, there's not much to inform you on the screen other than watching the game get played for a little bit. It would be cool, I think, to know that information personally, and I'm still wondering whether it's helpful to have. I mean, it's obviously helpful, but like, is it the type of helpful that even changes the way you would play the game, or is it something you would just play for a while? Then you just think of other examples of games that maybe do things similar to this. Like Crypt of the Necrodancers has actual hearts above the enemies, and you can see that hearts get taken away. And Binding of Isaac, of course, has no information other than bosses who have a bar for their health. But everything else kind of just has nothing, and you kind of attack them until they're gone.
I would say that game, it's intentional because they specifically don't want people min-maxing.
Sure.
So that, to that extent, I could see it being, more of a design decision, but yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, Choice Chamber is designed for you to kind of just run forward and attack without thinking too much. If something's coming for you, just kind of run away from it for a second and then go back right into it. So there's not too much, I think, that would be gained from having that extra bit of information. Nice to know when you're trying to, like, I guess, do your min-max, as you've been saying, but I just started a wiki actually, and that does have the information about these enemies. Like, you know that the totem has 10 health per face on it.
Okay.
So it can go from health like 10 to 30. And then you think about your starting strength for your bow, plus how many times people voted for power. And then you kind of do your math there, like, oh, it'll only take 7 hits if he has 30 health.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing 4 damage.
I getcha.
So yeah, it's not super interesting to me to have the numbers visible, or even, I guess halfway through, like meeting you halfway would have like a health bar. So you can kind of see the health going down, but not know exactly what the values are. You just know that, oh, I'm doing so much damage. I never see the health bar. He just dies immediately. Or this was obviously 2 hits because it's below half on my first hit and stuff like that. For the boss, we kind of have indication. Once he gets below half health, he starts turning red until he turns like pure red at completely dead. So you can kind of gauge as he's losing his health.
I gotcha.
We threw that in just so I wouldn't have to add a bar, because I don't want you to be staring at the bar as you attack. I want you to like look at the boss while you're playing.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I mean, it's definitely something that was established and well communicated in the arcade games of the 80s and that era.
Sure,
and such
flashing them red. Yeah,
flashing them red, and they get redder and redder. And that was something that was pretty much the standard throughout the NES era. Was basically that when it gets redder, that means even RPGs. I saw that sometimes, like when you get a boss to the heavy damage state, they start turning red, start changing colors.
Or flashing white means something is charged up.
Yeah. So I guess at the start of the game, there isn't a really fast response time. Like, you can stand next to something for about a second or two and it won't do anything.
Yep.
Now, around floor 20 or so, they get pretty close to the instant bite. Is there a point where it's pretty much, this is the difficulty, this is the rest of the game at this point, or...
Room 15.
What was that?
Room 15.
Room 15? Okay.
They originally always attacked immediately, and I've been watching people play on Twitch, and people who aren't used to action games or platformers, and they don't play these types of games often, who want to play Choice Chamber, just get a game over on Room 2 or Room 3. And I feel bad because that means they didn't get to see like anything in the game, and they feel bad because it's embarrassing, and they don't want to keep playing and stuff like that. And so, just for the time being, because we only have these few enemies anyway, I put in a delay for attack. So in Room 2, they actually wait a full 2 seconds before attacking you.
Gotcha.
Same with the bats and the huskies and the tiny guys. And it's just a linear drop in delay as you get closer to Room 15. So Room 7 is when they're halfway, where there's only 1 second delay. And then Room 15, they're all the way down to their zero frame delay when they attack. And it doesn't get any faster because it can't get faster after that. So that's just a way to ramp it up as you keep playing, and they'll just get faster and faster. It's not the proper solution, but it works for now. So people can at least get into the game and get at least a few questions in to watch how things change. Like, if you're good at a game like this, you're not going to be too phased by that change in the first few rooms because you're just going to plow through them anyway.
Right.
So I figure there's not much of a loss by putting that in.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good way to go with things. I guess one other thing, not necessarily that it does anything, but a feature that I think people would like is a combo meter to know how many consecutive hits you've gotten without getting hit and without having, let's say, 1 second or 2 seconds or some amount of time in between the hits in the combo. Not that it necessarily does anything. It'd just be another stat like your room's best and then your highest combo or something. Because I think that's something
like a chain.
Yeah, a chain. That's probably a better word for it. I think that
usually
would
the chains have the countdown timer for like a grace period for when you have to hit the next one. Yeah, well, I wouldn't put that in just for fun. I would, of course, tie that into something in the game. Whatever that may be.
Cool. I would love to see that as a feature. I'm sure that, and I bet putting like some sort of a clock that if you can, beat rooms within a certain period of time, getting a bonus or something, would put some emphasis on people. But I could see how some people might feel like constantly under the pressure, and I feel like the game's almost a little bit more casual, to be perfectly honest. Like it's not something
so.
where I'm just cursing at everything and just hating life because one thing didn't go quite the way I was hoping it would. It's definitely a lot more relaxed and laid back. It's like, yeah, you might succeed, you might fail, whatever. Just have fun with it.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I'm going for with it. I mean, I'm trying to be gracious with the hearts. The fact that you can have up to 10 hearts, which is kind of crazy for a game where if you're good enough, you can just avoid all dangers. Even in later rooms, you kind of just... If you have a good rollout, of course, that really depends on the chat, of course. But if you're in a situation where you can really step back and just let them come to you, and you always take your time, there's no big loss. You're just having a good time, so... This is more about having a good time with your chat, right?
Yeah.
It's not about... If you wanted to play a roguelike platformer, just because it's a roguelike platformer, you should probably play something else. But this is a game designed for kind of bringing your community together and having a good time. I wanted it to feel like everyone is kind of on the couch with you playing a video game, that kind of idea. Like they're not just spectating from somewhere in the world, they're actually right next to you, being a part of it at the same time. And that's kind of the idea of just having fun together. And it just happens to be a game that looks like a crazy action game, which sometimes gets very difficult. But for the most part is manageable if you just take your time and take one pogo at a time.
Yeah. So here's a question. The bats die in any direct hit that would apply ice to them, correct?
Yes.
So the ice actually creates a disadvantage with the flying creatures. And that's that
because they push you a little bit.
If you kill them and they fall in a hole, you can't get loot from them. So if there's a lot of holes in the ground and I've got an icy weapon, I'm potentially losing loot opportunities.
That is correct. They also become physical objects that you can't move through anymore. So if you try and jump over a gap and a frozen bat is kind of falling down, it may block your path.
Gotcha.
Set you off a little bit.
I've never really had that.
It doesn't really make sense because bats always die with one hit, no matter what weapon you have. And so just freezing them is kind of like... Well, initially they didn't fall down as ice cubes. And we were playtesting, and then the streamer was like, why aren't they falling down like ice cubes and like shattering on the floor? And I'm like, why aren't they being frozen and falling down and shattering on the floor? So I threw it in, and it felt a lot nicer. It let you enjoy the ice modification a lot more, and didn't change too much about the dynamic, but it did break the rule that they're not being killed immediately. They're being frozen first, and then they kind of fall down.
I don't know how how all the systems work for you, but something I would suggest, if that's a feature that you'd want to mess around with, is that they produce the loot the moment they get frozen, and then whether they shatter on the ground or not, it doesn't really matter because they've already distributed whatever loot was going to come from them. Is that the sort of thing that would be kind of reasonable, or is that completely throwing off like the order of operations for mob spawning and dying and the trash collection and all of that fun stuff?
Yeah, right now the loot drops as soon as they poof.
Yeah.
And the poofing for that part, for a frozen bat, is when they shatter on the ground.
Give me just 1 second.
Well, looks like it's just you and me, chat. Oh, he's back.
I guess the one other thing I would think of as, like, if I was in that situation and was trying to do a workaround, it would be make it poof the moment that it gets hit, and then create a bat with, an ice cubed bat with velocity as just kind of a special one-off object that falls and shatters or disappears or whatever. But however you want to work it, it's something that's kind of fun either way. It's almost an interesting quirk of the weapon that it doesn't have to be changed. I was just wondering if that was going to be adjusted about it or not, but I definitely like it. The idea of the enemy smashing down on the floor, and if there weren't pits and lava and stuff, then it would definitely make sense to do it that way. But it's just, I guess, the ability to lose loot because they'll fall in a hole and the things don't pop up and float down for you. Falling ice bats as weapons to slow enemies below. That would be actually pretty interesting, Kremcheck. So we talked about
like little bombs that kind of drop.
Yeah.
Ice cubes that do damage. That'd be interesting.
Be pretty fun. So let's see. We talked about jumps, heart types, vote tie resolution, displaying attributes, numeric damage data, pogo being separate from jumps, and the woes of pogo. Oh, pass option. That's the one other thing. Well, actually, kind of two things. There's something I thought about earlier is while we were talking, to make people not feel like their voice is being minimized, having an alternate vote where instead of it being highest vote wins, it's lowest vote wins. And it could even have an extra modification on that. Lowest vote wins, but it's got to get at least one vote. So it could be one of those things where everybody's trying to give you pogo jump, and they're doing so by voting for the other things. It's like, let's all vote high jump and double jump, so we get stuck with the pogo.
Yeah, we want to do I don't know what you call them, trickery votes, where it asks something but it's going to do the opposite anyway. But that wouldn't be informed to the chat, so they'll be kind of used as pawns.
It's something that just putting the word "not" in the sentence somewhere to make it the opposite, that's a small enough detail for people to miss because they've already read the text enough times. It's like, oh yeah, then they vote.
Just add the word "not." I can also do a bunch of negatives, like what jump do you not want to not happen? Never.
That could be pretty funny.
I also wanted to do one where all the things they type in look really similar, and so they're having trouble spelling the correct one because they're all similarly spelled things, that a bunch of L's and capital I's and W's and V's together and things like that.
I could see that being done with a gizmo, like GIZMOE or something is one of the wrong ones. Or you get something that instead of it being the gizmo, it's like this thing that's floating around, and it's just it shoots wigs onto enemies' heads.
Oh, well, maybe not that. But,
maybe not that, but
we are going to have a bunch of different gizmos. Because this one guy kind of just shoots and that's it. We're going to have a bunch of different ones. And we want to have at least 3 kinds of local co-op gizmos that you can choose between for using, so that should be kind of fun to keep things interesting for local co-op.
Cool. Local co-op. Yeah, I saw a little bit of that at IndieCade. That looked like a lot of fun. Kremcheck, talk to Noodlecat about that. And I guess let me know. Kremcheck and Noodlecat are the other two most active streamers with Who's Gaming Now. The other, of course, being Carl Mundo, but he's busy with the Land of Ice, so we don't get to see him streaming too much these days. But anyway, getting back on the subject here. So I do like the gizmo. Are there going to be other similar sorts of things, not necessarily floating around and assisting you, but other sorts of stuff like that? You had mentioned potentially defensive items. Any details?
Yeah, the players in the chat will be able to control AI buddies. There's one from the Kickstarter that's called the Minion, where they give it commands like being more aggressive, defending you, or collecting loot and stuff like that. And that would be player for player, so it would actually have their username above the little helper. the screen fighting alongside with you.
Oh, cool.
Of course, that can't be for everyone if there's like hundreds of people in the chat.
Yeah.
But it would be just one more way to like spotlight people in the chat room and make them feel like they're having some greater effect on the game as they play.
Okay, now you just gave me an idea, and this kind of almost play the idea of like Upsilon Circuit a little bit. Whatever. The idea is basically, and a lot of bots like my Deep Bot, for example, does this, though I don't have it running right now because I don't want to have a bunch of people playing the bank heist game. But the idea of the more somebody participates, the more they vote, that their participation gets logged in some sort of a database that's local on the person's the player's hard drive, and the more they play, the more people participate, the higher their kind of score gets as a participant in their show. So when it comes to getting somebody else from the community involved in one way or another, where they're doing more than just voting, it can be something where they either expend points to try to bid for the opportunity, or it's just the person with the highest points, and then either their points reset or they cut in half or something. So that way, the people that are really the regulars when you play Choice Chamber are going to be able to have more weight and more opportunities than the folks who just tuned in for a moment.
Yeah, we wanted to have something like that, and so that's still kind of on the table of having pretty much what you said. The more you play, the more it matters what you do and say. Like, you would have more of a vote weight, for example, in a standard poll. But you would also get priority over certain situations, such as controlling special things and enemies, helpers, whatever they may be on the screen. And you also don't want to make it... Oh, look where you are.
Yep, this is the first time finally seeing the boss. And it appears that they can't really do anything to me, though I also see the Gizmo isn't really doing anything to it.
I think you have to get close to the boss before the Gizmo knows it's dangerous to you.
Oh, that's fine. I think I'm just fine popping it from here. It's starting to get red.
Yeah, he's not too hard. He's kind of a old prototype placeholder boss, something to just fight, but it isn't much of a challenge. He also doesn't have any chat interaction built in yet, so.
Gotcha. Neat. And some coinage. Is there going to be more? Whoops. Those extra hearts wiped all of my good hearts away. Is that something that we'll be able to get as a feature, that new red hearts don't wipe old hearts of other types?
Oh, like the reds just kind of fill in any gaps?
Yeah, they just ate my I think I had a flaming heart and a lucky heart. And then...
Yeah, that's been brought up a few times by other streamers, so yeah, I'm thinking about it. They're also just the standard regulars, so maybe they will behave that way. That's one more kind of weird rule to add to the hearts, which are already weird on their own, of how they all behave. So yeah, I'm aware of that, and I do agree with it. I just need to figure out a way to make it make sense in the context of what's actually happening, or what the heart means, and things like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that So hearts aren't something that you've really done too much with since you put them in, or has it been something that's just been getting touched up a little bit here and there, or has it been kind of pretty solid from when it was entered?
I kind of added the first batch of hearts, and that's what you were playing with, and there's other hearts that just haven't gone in yet. And
okay.
I'm going to put them in kind of in batches, not just kind of do one at a time each time. So yeah, there's just a whole bunch of content that needs to still go in, and the game is slowly getting in that direction, but there's nothing really to compare it to for this type of gameplay. Like, even a year of working on it, there hasn't been very many games designed from the ground up that use this in interesting ways, this type of technology.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's why it's going so slowly with everything, because it's a lot of just design issues and figuring out what works, what doesn't. And it needs to work with one person in the chat room, it needs to work with 1,000 people, it needs to work with 0 people. Well, it should work with 0 people, I should say. So yeah, all that stuff takes time, and once that's all figured out, then then all the content will start kind of pouring in at a much faster rate than it has been.
Oh, Burnt Toast is keeps asking about the 1.4 release.
Yeah, he plays it like every day. He's always asking me when it's coming out.
Gotcha.
1.4, I am shooting for first week of November, which is next week.
Nice.
Or I don't know. I've been calling them 0, 1. Like every month is a different whole number, so technically next week's would be called 2.0. I don't feel like I've done enough changes in it because I've been so busy this month to call it 2.0. It'll be some type of incremented number, and that'll be the next big thing to come out.
Okay,
So
I gotcha.
that'll be hopefully next week. I'll test the final version of that beta on my Tuesday show,
Nice.
and then if all goes well there, pending any last minute fixes, I should be sending it to go live Wednesday or Thursday of next week.
Nice. And that's going to be that's just the beta version from Humble Bundle, right?
Yeah, it's through Humble.
Cool. So you talked about Steam a little bit earlier, but it was just that it was you had tied it into Steam. It wasn't actually on Steam.
Yeah, I just
right?
added it to my library as a custom program. No, there's no officially on Steam announcement right now, but I'll figure out a way to get it on there soon enough. Yeah, for right now in beta, I'm not too serious about it, like doing an early access thing or whatever. I'm just concerned about getting the final release on there for day one.
Yeah. You know, when it does come to getting this on Steam, I bet you'd probably be able to skip the green light process and just say, Twitch, help support me. And they'd be like, hey, Steam, you guys want
like
this
have
game.
them publish it.
Yeah, not even have them
Twitch.
publish it, just like have them kind of vouch for you. It's like, yeah, this game's awesome and you want it. We're Twitch, we're big, and you should listen to
I
us.
suppose if I had them pitch it to Valve, it would be much better than me. Even though I already have 1.5 games on Steam already, that doesn't mean that.
I still see
Sure.
people having to greenlight stuff even if they're already established.
Oh yeah, I mean Treasure had to greenlight Ikaruga, and I was like, guys, you don't need to.
Are you kidding me?
They got greenlit in like 2 days.
Yeah,
There's
I would
hundreds of
imagine.
thousands of Yes votes. It's like the most obvious greenlight, but like they had to go through it.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. All these big names have to go through greenlight.
So now those bats are starting to give me some trouble because they're starting to shoot a lot faster. And I keep catching these fireballs too.
Plus your Gizmo's getting busy with other. It's like stuck on the toothies down below, so it's not helping you.
Yeah. There we go. I like how they explode with the spikes. And that's kind of a random pattern every time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's random, including the number of spikes. So sometimes it's not very many.
Yeah, that last one didn't seem too bad compared to some of the ones. And the grouping also seems like really varied every time. That's definitely a cool feature.
Yeah, I didn't want it to like always go towards you or be this really predictable blossoming pattern. I want you to be like, I wanted it to be unknown, so it's always a mystery of how's it going to blow up this time, especially if there's like two blowing up at the same time. That's two completely different patterns of teeth, and it's just kind of chaotic, and that's what I wanted.
Nice. Whoops! I think I caught a spike on the way down there. It was either that or a bat fireball. Fun stuff. So we got to 29 there with, I think, no warps. And that was how we actually got to see the boss.
And that is a new record as well, if I'm not mistaken.
For me. But like you
Yeah.
said, we've seen over 300 in the prototype, so...
Oh, the ankle biter, the little red guy bit you in the air. He like jumped up, did a little snipe bite.
Yeah. Alright. So we've been going for an hour here. I wasn't sure about your schedule, but you know, I could definitely keep going for another hour if you're down for it. Otherwise, I guess this would be the opportunity if you've got to bow out for other things.
Yeah, I probably should get going. I've got a co-working event to attend. But yeah, this has been pretty cool.
It has been a lot of fun, actually, having you on here and being able to talk about it. I've been enjoying playing it with the audience here for the past week or two, and getting it in here and there when I can. I'm really excited to see some more of the features that are going to be going into it, more of the stuff. And I guess the one last question I really wanted to ask about: will there be? I guess I don't need to say workshop because it's not on Steam. Will there be modability? Can people actually change the character, change the enemies, add more stuff, add more features, more modifications, that sort of stuff? Or will that be a feature in the future?
Yeah, that's going to be in the game. I can't say exactly when. That might be post-launch, like a 1.1 thing, but that is in the Kickstarter stretch goal that got met. So there is going to be modability where you can kind of change what types of questions get asked, how often they get asked, what types of rooms appear, and you can change graphics for your character and things like that, or like making it strict of what types of, like you're forced to get one weapon in one certain layout, so you kind of force a different thing like that. And if it is on Steam, all that should hopefully be done through the workshop. That'd be nice to be able to just have it built in like that. So that part's wish list, like the workshop. But yeah, modability is in there in some form, like even down to having you be able to add more greetings to the hello screen, so you can add whatever you want. So like you can have special greetings that might pop up in your chat room, your community, that's special to you, and like the GG as well at the end, like what people say when you lose. So
yeah,
so they can all use it. Like if you have like a special emote for a partner channel, they could all use those, and those log in as well. So so all that'll be in.
Localizing, I think that's another nice thing, is that the community will eventually be able to localize the game into all the different languages, because I'm sure this is a game everyone in the world would potentially want to enjoy, but it's the unfortunate limitation that language being kind of a natural barrier, only English speakers can truly enjoy it to its fullest right now. But
yeah, there's a lot of English in this game specifically. There's lots of barriers to like understanding what's going on or why even something is like funny, like all my terrible puns with all the treasure chests.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big issue. Localization also gets really complicated with modifications and things like that, because you get different versions of the same language being used in different areas.
Yeah.
It's nice to have the community kind of do localization, like, hey, I do localization for Russian games, here, I'll just do it for free, whatever. Or, I'm like, you don't have to do it for free, I'll pay you. But then that means the game has to be able to support the characters for those languages, which gets more complicated, because this is like a custom font that doesn't even have all of the English characters. Like if you try like a bracket, it has like music notes and things like that. Like they put in different things. Yeah. I mean, it's a custom, it matches the rest of the font, so they're like, well, forget all of these symbols that you can hold shift and get all these weird symbols. Let's just make music notes for some reason. Well, actually, the font's called like "Please write me a song," so that's why.
Oh.
So you can like write the song, I guess.
Interesting.
But I had all these different symbols in the game, and then they came out as music notes. I'm like, oh, I should get another font. I probably will get another font. There's a lot of really small pixely, like the percent sign looks really weird in this, and you can't really see periods too well. But yeah, that's still something that would be interesting. That's a lot of extra energy and time that would need to go in for even doing one extra language, let alone like the standard 5 or 6 you do.
Yeah.
E-figs, as they call them. But yeah, that is something. Like, I've seen Russian players play this, and they have to like play in English, which is kind of interesting.
It's definitely one of those things where I feel like you could go one way or the other with it. You could do more of the 100% community-driven localization, and then it's just kind of like a Wild West sort of things. Like, yeah, maybe they've done a good job localizing it, or maybe they just threw in a whole bunch of profanity, but, you know, I can't really read it, so I don't know, sort of thing. Or if it'd be better to do some sort of like a semi-official, like actually hiring people to do localization, or you know, people that would volunteer and being able to give them some sort of a you know, small compensation. Because I know people who do localization in a bunch of different languages, so, and they're always looking for work apparently. So
yeah, localizing the text is not the issue. It's implementing it into the game and having it be able to handle different characters and switch languages and stuff like that.
That's true.
like because you got to keep in mind I'm one person
Yes.
working on this game for the most part, at least all the programming stuff. So it's a miracle this much is working already in the game.
This is
anyway, I'm gonna get going.
I guess one last question before I
Yeah,
let you get
go
going. Is this done in Adobe Flash or Air, or what are the
Both.
systems that are?
It's using Flash in Adobe Air. So
Okay.
ActionScript 3, made in native Flash IDE, no extra frameworks that are being used or anything like that, just straight Flash.
Cool. And then the Air for the making an actual desktop application.
Yeah, that allows it to read the chat and be able to do online connectivity stuff. Like you wouldn't be able to just use a regular Swift and connect to the chat room because of security issues with
Right.
the regular Flash player.
That makes sense. I've dealt with that stuff a little bit when I'd been making a little 1 week project to get one of the free tablets from BlackBerry many years ago when BlackBerry tried making tablets.
Oh, the playbook, right?
Yeah, the playbook. Yeah, this this wonky, horrible, low resolution,
just
hot thing.
giving
Right?
them away a few years ago.
Well, yeah, it's because they actually had at the Flash Game Summit, I think 2011. They pretty much put the word out there. Hey, anybody who wants to get one of these, just make make an app for us, and we'll send you one. So I made. It was probably the worst app I've ever made, and probably ever will make. It's called Tablet Tuning Fork. Is basically you can play a C major scale of the different notes and have it either play it once or play it on a kind of a repeat. And it was terrible, but I got a tablet for it, so whatever. Anyway, I definitely want to let you go. We're going to keep on going with Choice Chamber here, but it has been awesome having you here. It's been a pleasure, and not just more Choice Chamber in the future, but I'd love to get you on to talk about some of your other games too, because you make a lot of awesome stuff.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure being on the show. You have some lots of good input and questions coming in. So thanks to everyone in the chat playing along too. And I recognize a few names from my channels: Burnt Toast, Middle Thought. I don't know who else is here. That's about it that I saw.
Cool. Well, hopefully some of the folks here will start tuning in for your show. Of course, it's at the same time as this one, so we'll see. You know, people can dual
Well,
monitor.
there's multi-Twitch. They can do both.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, cool. Well, have a good time, and I will talk to you later. See ya.
Thank you. Take it easy.
All right, everybody, give us just a second to switch over. I think. Oh, we got the wrong game lined up there. So let me change the name and change the date. 29, 14. Choice Chamber. Cool stuff. I actually first met him at E3 this year. I didn't realize that. Well, I knew that Indiecade was going to be around because they always are, but I had no idea who the people would be this year. And then I see this game called Choice Chamber that allows people to, you know, get their streaming audience involved, and it's pretty awesome. Yeah, actually, funny story, Krem. I actually got this because I was planning to dual stream with Satellizer Games, but after like a couple of months of his schedule being too busy and not being able to line things up, I was like, screw it, whatever. I'll just play Choice Chamber when I play Choice Chamber. You folks really need to start with the lower numbers there. Yeah, that's a good start. Ah! What are you doing? You goofballs. No, don't start with 10. Low numbers. Low numbers. Why do you keep putting 10s? Stop putting random numbers. Don't make me go in chat and spam a bunch of zeros. Why do you go to 10 and 8? What the hell? Yeah, I'm not going to be able to make that first jump. There, that gives you folks a start. Now can you finish it for me? I kind of want to continue the game. We can do Bridge Building Simulator another stream. That's totally fine. But I can see that one person putting 8 and 10 is gonna throw off everybody else putting 1s and 2s. It wouldn't be such an issue if you folks didn't give me Pogo Jump, but if you give me Pogo Jump, you at least have to build a substantial bridge. Definitely one or the other. Can you break the bridge? Is there a way for the viewers to wipe it if it doesn't work? Fire! We have 38 coins. We're not getting any of this, are we? We're just gonna move along. Fire! There we go. Warning! What the hell? Oh, I see. It was hearts. I thought you were still trying to vote on the bridge. I was gonna be like, what are you doing? That was 2 rooms ago. Or 1 room ago. Was it 1 or 2? I don't remember. Doesn't matter. High enemies. 10 hearts. Sticky floors. Alright. Okay, cool. Alright. Now let me ask you this, folks. I definitely have absolutely no problem playing the entire 2-hour set of Choice Chamber, but it isn't the only game that we have going right now. Is there any... Does anybody want to see another game for the set here? Would you rather just have us run the full 2 hours here at Choice Chamber? Because I'm personally having fun. Because I've already got 3 hearts, and one of the ones that I have is a luck heart, so I would basically be removing opportunities for myself if I collected those hearts. They aren't like currency or anything, they're not something that you get to store. There we go. Sticky floors. Alright. Faster attacking, which I believe was that range increase. Whoops. Ugh. There we go. That's what I was saying about being able to wrap it around on those dudes. Very helpful. Yeah, Tobias, we ran those ones out already. There we go. Oh wow, yeah, that did basically insta-jib. That's pretty helpful. All right. Rooms are now bigger. All right. Nice. There we go. I have a ton of things, Tobias. But I will deal with that factor once we're finished with Choice Chamber. Damn it. Alright. That freaking pogo jump. Alright. Let us move it along then. Good times here playing Choice Chamber.